The man is in the Epstein files 40,000 times, who calls people like you and me stupid for even bringing it up, who is protecting pedophiles right now as we speak, who was best friends with one of the biggest sex traffickers in the world, Jeffrey Epstein. The man whose own ex-wife called him a rapist, and then he paid her off to shut her up. A guy who has literally 30 women that have accused him of sexual assault. Credible allegations that go way before he ever got into public office. Yes, he is a liable sexual abuser. Yes, he's had credible claims of young girls. Yes, the man who bragged about sexual assault. This is a man with a history and a pattern. It's not just about cheating on women. It's not just about paying somebody $130,000 in hush money, okay? The fact of the matter is that this man has a long list. My first prompt today is why I say Donald Trump is morally bankrupt. All right, thanks for coming. Obviously, I believe Donald Trump is morally bankrupt. Before I get into that, I want to get your take. What do you think about that? Do you agree with me that Trump is a morally bankrupt man?
Well, what's that mean?
Well, it means that, we have 30 women that have accused him of sexual assault, when you're a 34-count felon, when your own ex-wife says that he raped her and then he pays her off to keep her mouth shut. This is a guy that is a swindler, whether we talk about Trump University or, there's a number of different issues. We could talk about when Robert Mueller dies and he says, I'm happy he's dead. The comments he made about John McCain, for example. I know I'm throwing a lot at you, and I probably have about 200 different things that I could mention. But the man has no moral compass. He only cares about himself. And I really don't know how anybody out there, especially the evangelical right, can support this man when you look at his actions. And yes, he is a liable sexual abuser, whether people want to admit that or not. He was found liable for sexually abusing E. Jean Carroll. He's cheated on every single woman he's ever been with, including his current wife, or contractual wife, I'd like to call her, Melania Trump, with Stormy Daniels. I mean, you're aware of that, right? He raw-dogged Stormy Daniels literally 2 weeks after Barron was born. I'm sorry if I'm being graphic, but I am. That is a morally bankrupt man who only cares about himself, and I don't know how anybody could defend that. You can try.
Well, if this is what you believe, you got that information from somewhere.
What do you mean believe, with respect? Is he not a liable sexual abuser, yes or no?
I don't believe so.
Okay, but what did a court say? What did a jury say? Let's forget about your beliefs for a moment and my beliefs. The question is Donald Trump a liable sexual abuser? If I asked you if O.J. Simpson, well, he's dead now, but if O.J. Simpson was a double murderer, you could say, I believe he probably committed those crimes, but a jury found him innocent. So my question is Donald Trump a liable sexual abuser?
I don't believe so.
Okay, but
I don't.
But I'm not asking you whether. I understand you don't believe E. Jean
Well,
Carroll.
I don't believe the court and the trials, as all my friends here will probably concur, were setups. That those weren't real trials.
What about What about the 30 women that have accused him of sexual assault? Are they all lying as well, including his ex-wife in court documents and a deposition?
I would need to see that.
You would need to see that. So how can you argue whether he's morally...
These are narratives in the news.
No, they're not narratives in the news. When you're found liable in a court of law, that's not a narrative. That's actually what happened. When Donald Trump says, I'm grabbing women by the pussy, that's not a narrative, sir, with all due respect. He said that. I've been in locker rooms my whole life. I was a Division I college athlete. I've never heard somebody talk like that about grabbing women by the pussy. That's not a narrative. It's not a narrative, okay? When a jury finds in a courtroom that they literally find him liable for abuse, the judge in the case characterized it as rape. I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Taylor.
Taylor. Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Taylor. All right, Taylor. I believe Donald Trump is a morally bankrupt man. Why would you disagree?
I mean, like, why?
Okay, well, let me ask you a simple question about January 6th. If Donald Trump doesn't lie about the 2020 election, because we all know, and it's not even up for discussion, quite frankly, he did not win the 2020 election. There's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. If Donald Trump didn't lie about that, does January 6th happen? Yes or no?
Possibly. I mean, he literally told them to leave.
Possibly. Okay, so let's go with that for a moment. So you're hold on.
Didn't he tell them to leave?
Hold on.
Did he not tell them to leave? Yes or no?
At
Yes or no?
4
Yes or
hours.
no?
Let me
Yes or
answer
no?
your question.
Yes or no?
Don't.
But yes or no?
You got to let me answer your
Yes or
question.
no?
I'm going to answer.
You asked me a yes or no question. I'm going to ask you it back. Yes or no?
4 hours after it had
yes.
started.
So yes.
4 hours after it started.
Can you just say yes?
4 hours after it started.
Like quit.
4
quit the LARP,
hours
okay? Quit the
after
LARP.
it started.
Yes or no?
If you saw a man raping a woman And then 4 hours after, you said, didn't you tell him to stop? That's a fucking ridiculous thing you're saying.
Trump here and women?
Let me explain.
Are you referring to Trump and
You're
women?
telling me. Hold on. Let's talk about January 6th. Hold on. Let's start with January 6th. You're telling me that if Donald Trump did what every other president did in American history and conceded, like every other president, you're telling me January 6th still happens? I know you have that smirk on your face because you look ridiculous, okay? Tell me right now, look at me right now, and tell me right now in front of the cameras that January 6th still happens if Donald Trump concedes.
I don't think somebody that's ginger should be calling me ridiculous.
Just answer the question. Answer the question.
Number two, though.
Answer the question.
Number two, it's probably
what do you mean number two? You got to take a shit?
Answer
the question. Answer the question.
Wouldn't happen. But you brought up Trump's
Why
rape,
won't you answer that question?
You brought up rape.
Answer my question. Dude, I'll answer yours, but you got to answer mine.
I said possibly.
Okay, so you're saying, okay, that's a very logical opinion. So if Donald Trump concedes and does what every other president does, you still think that people try to overthrow the outcome of a free and fair election. What do you think about police officers that were beaten on January 6th? Would you call them hostages and patriots?
Would you call police officers beaten?
Don't answer a question.
BLM,
Don't
right?
answer.
Oh wait, what about David Dorn?
I'll answer BLM. Hold on.
The police officer, the black police officer that was shot and killed.
This is a microcosm of what Trump supporters do. I'm happy to answer any question about BLM, and I promise you I'll answer your question. But you are going to fucking answer my question first, okay? And if you're not going to answer it, then take a seat and let somebody else come up there.
Are you going to force me
Do
to
you
answer
think that if
You're
you
gonna
beat
force
a
me.
cop,
You're going to force
this
me?
isn't going to go well for you if you don't answer any of my questions.
Oh, really?
Do you think that
A
if
beer
you
belly
beat
is
a
gonna go
cop,
well.
okay, you can attack me on my physical appearance. That's fine.
You attacked me on my physical, and I'm just pointing out the obvious.
No, your smile. I didn't attack you on your physical appearance.
That smile
you
is
were
physical.
Smirking.
Are you like retarded?
So answer my question, okay? Answer my question. Otherwise, we'll go to somebody else. Are
None
you
of
a
them are
hostage?
raising. Wow, they love the people.
Are you
love
a
me, unlike you,
hostage?
actually.
Okay, I bet they do. Are you a hostage? Now, I don't think it's funny.
Am I a hostage? No, I'm not in
Okay.
Israel or Gaza.
Right.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm not a hostage. Actually.
We could either have a serious conversation
You
or we
asked me
can't.
if I was a hostage.
Okay, you're not.
Is that a dumb question?
No,
I know you're not a dumb
I'm
guy.
repeating the question
Okay.
again
Am
so
I a
you can
hostage?
understand it. Okay.
I can see that.
Okay. If you beat a cop on January 6th, and we do know that there were some people that did do that, and they were convicted. Are you a hostage and a patriot? And then I'll get to your Black Lives Matter question, okay?
Well, I think that we should go case by case, and some people that did that, sure, they
Okay.
should deserve jail time.
Okay, I agree. So, but I didn't ask you if they deserve jail time. Obviously, we agree on that. If it's a Black Lives Matter protest and somebody beats a cop, of course, I want them held to the highest extent of the law. Would you characterize someone who beat a cop on January 6th as a hostage or a patriot? I'm asking you, like, this is like the 8th time, and you're not answering. No. So you disagree with Donald Trump. So
I don't have to agree with him on everything.
Okay, great. So,
unlike you just follow whatever Kamala, the Democratic Party says.
I don't know what you're talking about. Wait, hold on a second. Do you realize that I put out a video last week that went viral?
I don't follow you, sir. I don't have Facebook.
Clearly, you don't follow politics either. But let me just explain to you what I did.
You literally sat here and
you
ranted
think
to him
I'm a
about.
cultist.
You sat here. You ranted to him about Donald Trump's experiences.
That's what the prompt is. That's what we're talking
women.
about.
Why don't we talk about that?
We're talking about being morally bankrupt.
Yes.
I just asked you about January 6th. Connect the dots.
What about with the women?
Bro?
What about with the women? I know you don't want to
What
get into
about
that.
with women? Ask
what did
me
he do?
specifically.
What did Donald Trump do?
He was found liable for sexual abuse. Okay, that was proven. He's had 30 allegations from women that I believe that are credible, including his ex-wife in court documents in a deposition. He's the guy that's named over 40,000 times in the Epstein files, who Donald Trump and Epstein said were best friends. Let me ask you a question since you want to talk about women. I'm glad you brought that up. Can you give me one logical reason why Donald Trump has treated Ghislaine Maxwell like a VIP? Give me one reason.
He shouldn't have, and also
he shouldn't have.
I mean, while we're on
morally
the subject,
bankrupt.
While we're
Thank
on
you.
the subject
Thank
of
you.
women, I mean, those teeth look pretty nice. Who'd you extort? Your ex-wife?
Are you a serious person?
What about the order of protection?
Are you not a
I know
serious
you know a lot
person?
about the
All right,
civil,
all right. You're obviously not a serious person. Get him out of here. You're not a serious person.
Your court documents.
You're not a
with
serious
your
person.
ex-girlfriend.
You're not a serious
with your
person.
Ex-girlfriend. The
Who's
court
my-
documents with your ex-girlfriend.
What ex-girlfriend are you
The
referring
order
to?
of protection that you filed against her?
Wasn't an ex-girlfriend.
For actually going
No.
after your Medicaid
Wasn't an
fraud?
ex-girlfriend.
You asked her for $1,000.
Wasn't an ex-girlfriend.
Who was it then? Who was it then?
I'm happy to
Tell me-
answer that,
then
even though
answer
you're
the
not a
question. Then
serious
answer the
person.
question.
Sure. So, in the last 2 years of my life, I've had people who have threatened my life. The person that you are referring to, okay, is somebody that sent me death threats. It was never somebody, let me finish. It was never somebody that I dated. It was never an ex-girlfriend. This person threatened me, threatened my family, was obsessed with me. So because of that, there are no public court documents. Do you know why?
But she gave you money.
Okay. Yeah. Do you know why? Do you know anything about this situation?
Well, I mean, I saw the text messages.
Yeah,
listening
yeah.
to.
Those
Cursing
aren't.
at a woman.
Those
Cursing
aren't.
at a woman is not
those
morally
aren't.
okay.
Those aren't
Tell
court
me
documents.
You're the person talking
Okay,
about morally
you
talking to
you
women.
are bringing up something that you know absolutely nothing about. The reason why I had
bringing
to
up
file.
something that you
I'm
can't
trying
actually
to
prove beyond a
I'm
reasonable
trying
doubt
to.
that Donald Trump is a sexual abuser.
Okay, so now you're going back to Trump.
Beyond a
I'm trying to
reasonable
hold on a
doubt.
second. You brought up something about my
holding.
personal life. Okay. And you don't know what you're talking about. The
You have
reason
no
why
idea what you're
the
talking
reason
about
why I
for
had to
another
file
person's personal life.
No,
So that's why I'm here sitting here
excuse
defending
me,
them.
Excuse me. I was never found liable for anything in a court of law. I have never been
But you
in
know
a
the
court of
burden of
law.
proof.
Okay, but I'm answering
In a
your
civil
question.
case, a burden
I'm
of proof in a
answering your
civil-
question about a restraining order that I had to file against
civil
somebody,
case, right?
and apparently you think this is funny. What do you mean civil case? I didn't civilly file a lawsuit against anybody. Do you know the difference between a civil case and what I did, which was file a restraining order
I'm glad
against
you brought
somebody?
that up. I'm actually glad you brought that
What
up.
you just said is a complete lie.
Really?
It's factually inaccurate. And if you can find me any court case and any court document of me breaking any laws or doing anything, please go ahead and let me know. You're not a serious person. You don't know what you're talking about. You're here just to smirk and laugh and make jokes. So get the fuck out of here and let somebody else come up
you're
here.
saying-
I'm not talking to this guy anymore. Get the fuck out of here.
okay.
Yeah, the fuck out of here. What's up, man?
So
I'm sorry, what's your name?
Nate.
Nate, nice to meet
So
you.
look, I won't make excuses for a lot of what Trump says. You know, he says a lot of things that probably a lot of people disagree with, and he's a very polarizing president. But my question is he a good president, right? Is he a moral president, and does he preside with morality? And I think that number one, the Make America Healthy Again movement. Just recently, they just reduced 35% of the foods now have been reduced and gotten rid of the toxic dyes in the food, which is going to help to improve the health of the next generation. Veterans, for example, more veterans have killed themselves than all of the Afghanistan wars from suicide. It's a big problem. So Trump is now also addressing.
Can I just ask you?
Yeah.
So I do believe that there are some policies where you could say, okay, those policies are helping people. But I also believe two things could be right at the same time. You could agree with some policies that you think are helping the American people, but you could also be a morally bankrupt guy, right? For example, and you tell me if you disagree with this or not, in regards to the war in Iran, right? 175 school children are killed. The first thing he does is blame Iran. And by the way, I don't defend Iran or the Iran government, right? He knew that Tomahawk, or maybe he didn't, which is unbelievably ignorant, but we own Tomahawk missiles, and there are a few other countries in the world that do. What's the first thing he does? He says Iran did it. To this day, he hasn't apologized for that, right? I'm not saying that the Trump administration intentionally tried to kill 175 school children. I don't think they tried to do that on purpose. But when you know you did it, take responsibility for it. And I think that's morally bankrupt. Innocent
Is there
people,
evidence that
yeah,
they did that?
they've already.
I think they made it.
Members of the Trump
right?
administration have said it was a mistake, but Pete Hegseth has never been on the record yet apologizing or saying it was their fault. Donald Trump has not done that either. I think when you're the president of the United States, it's your responsibility to do that. Yes, we can get into the personal stuff, and I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I'm sure there's some policies that you like that could be helping people. I get that. But I just feel like on a world stage, it's very important to own and take responsibility for mistakes that were made, whether you agree or disagree with the war in Iran. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Again, if it turns out that it was indeed our fault, then he probably.
It was, though. That's my point.
I just didn't look into it, so I don't
understand.
know if that's
What do you think about the war, by the way? Do you think it's morally the right thing to do?
I don't necessarily. I'm not 100% for it, but if it were the case that Iran was close to developing a nuclear weapon, I don't think that's a risk anybody should be taking.
I mean, I believe that whether you agree or disagree with the president and you're a Republican or a Democrat, having nicknames for people that you disagree with, days after, I think it was the day after Robert Mueller died, he goes on social media, he says, I'm glad he's dead.
Again,
I mean, imagine if Joe Biden or Obama said something like that.
I'm not going to try to defend what he said, his tweets.
Do you think he's a moral man?
I think he presides with presidency with morality. And I think that really what matters is his policies and the outcomes for the American people. If we have safer cities, safer streets, healthier children, better healthcare for our veterans, then
we're going to talk about policy. I'm happy to do that with you.
Yeah.
But
that's just kind of
I'm
really
happy.
the angle that I want to
so
take.
what's your? I understand. So what's your threshold? What does Donald Trump have to do for you to say, man, he's morally bankrupt? I can't support this guy anymore. What does he have to do? Does he have to be on video molesting a child for you to say, geez, I can't support him anymore? This is a guy who literally is protecting pedophiles. literally as we speak. Look at Ghislaine Maxwell and look at the way the administration is treating her like a VIP. Even after 5 months ago with her attorney, she said, I'm not giving up any names unless you give me a full pardon. That's what she said. Did Donald Trump put her back into that prison? No. I asked the last guy the same question. I'll ask you the same question. Can you give me one logical reason why Maxwell's still in a Club Med facility right now?
Yeah, she's got leverage, and she's probably one of the last living people that has information.
So he's probably protecting people, if not himself. Is that a fair characterization?
Or he's trying to get information.
If he was trying to get information, she just said she would not give up names unless she gets a full pardon. Now, maybe you could have used that reasoning a year ago, but you can't use it now. So what is the reason why she's still in a Club Med facility?
Well, like they say, you attract more bees with honey, right, than vinegar. So I just think that there's probably a strategy. She was very heavily involved. And I think that
what would the strategy be if she already said she's not speaking unless she gets a full pardon?
People changed their mind.
So you think the biggest sex trafficker, arguably in American history, is allowed a dog, allowed guests and people to come in there? She's allowed to use the internet and work out whenever she wants to. You can't be okay with that.
No, I'm definitely not okay with that. I don't know the circumstances of her confinement. If that's the case.
Well, the circumstances have gone up publicly because Democrats have investigated this and they've released that, and that's where I'm getting that information from. And it's not like out of thin air. I understand you might like some of his policies. I would disagree with you on that, and we can get into that a little bit later in the next prompt. But my point is that he's just a really awful human being, and I think if you're a chaotic man who's lived a chaotic life, you're probably going to be a chaotic president, and I think that's what we're seeing right now. And I don't think the man has any morals at all. I think the only person he cares about is himself. He doesn't care about everyday Americans. If he did, he wouldn't have given tax breaks to the top 1%.
Didn't he lose money during his first presidency? Didn't he become less rich?
Do you know that Donald Trump has made more money in the presidency than every single president combined? Every single president combined. He's made more money.
Well, his family's running the Trump brand.
He and his family have made more money off the presidency than all the presidents combined. You could look that up. You look at the crypto scandal that this guy has made billions of dollars for him and his family. We can talk about that. We could talk about the Trump Bibles. We could talk about the Trump paraphernalia. So listen, we can talk about selling Bibles. I don't know if anybody here is a religious person. The guy has Bibles sold in China for $1. He's selling Bibles for $60 a pop. He's made $1.3 million off of the Bibles. What about all the people who bought the Trump phones? Now, eventually they might get the phones, but boy, we're not getting a lot of information on that. He made $60 million off of that. That's what I mean by morally bankrupt. Yeah, he doesn't take his $400,000 a year salary so he can gold plate the White House. But when you've made billions of dollars and Jared Kushner makes $2.1 billion from the Saudis, to me, that's a morally bankrupt president of the United States. And even if I might like or dislike some of his policies, I do believe that the man has no morals.
Did he make money because of the presidency or despite the presidency?
Because of the presidency.
Do you have evidence on that, on the correlation?
So, yeah. I mean, do you think he would have made billions of dollars off of this crypto deal if he wasn't president? Do you think he would have been selling Bibles and he would have made that money off of Bibles, or he would have sold the Trump shoes or the Trump hats, Make America Great Again, or whatever?
When you're a businessman, you find ways to make money.
He wasn't selling any of that stuff before he ran for president.
You would have been doing something else.
I disagree with you.
I mean, that's just speculation.
I mean, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep. All right, Joe, nice to meet you. Obviously, I think Donald Trump is a morally bankrupt man and a terrible human being. Where am I wrong?
Well, I would say that it's hard to judge a person completely by their public persona all the time because we don't know what he's going through as a person, as a president. I can't sit here, and honestly, coming on to this debate, 10 Republicans versus a liberal is more of like, let's talk about the Republican policy.
You think I'm a liberal?
Well, that's the way it's set, is like, hey, this Jubilee, 10 Republicans versus liberal. I think that's why we're all here.
Anti-Trump.
Right. And so I think to be able to come here and see the prompts like a day before and be like, it's all like bad mouthing our POTUS. I'm going to try to do this in a respectful litigation way. So it's hard for me as a person to say that, yes, one person is totally morally bankrupt because I don't know him personally. I see what he's trying to do as president. I see that he's done good things.
You need to know somebody personally to make a judgment and say that's a bad person.
Personally, yes.
You have to know. So was Jeffrey Dahmer a good person? You didn't know him personally?
I didn't know him personally.
No.
Did he come to Christ at the end? I don't know. I have no idea. So it's not my position to say
hold on.
a person is morally. I'm judging them on their job.
Okay, so I judge people on human beings, how they've lived their life.
How do you know how they live their life?
Well,
if you
because
don't know who
Jeffrey
they
Dahmer
are?
was a convicted murderer.
Okay, fair enough.
Why can't you can't say Jeffrey Dahmer was a bad guy?
I'm not saying he wasn't a bad guy. He killed
Morally
people.
bankrupt. He's a murderer, right?
Okay, so
bad
morally,
dude.
you want me to say morally bankrupt, and this is kind of like you want me to put this in this box. But what I'm trying to say is that as a person to another person, it's hard for anybody to say I know 100% this person is a morally bankrupt evil person. That's all
Okay,
I'm saying.
so let's go issue by issue, and you could tell me whether you think it's a morally horrific, I don't know, thing to do. Again, I want to go back because it's in the news because it happened several months ago. Robert Mueller dies. He's a Purple Heart recipient. Never been convicted.
Badmouthed him on Twitter, saying that he was happy that he died.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's
a
a
nice
horrible
thing
thing to say,
Not a
right?
nice thing to say.
Rob Reiner.
Did he kill him though?
No, I never said that.
Because if he killed him,
I never
that
said
would
that.
be
Yeah.
evil.
There's a difference
He said a bad
between-
thing on Twitter.
Yeah. Pretty horrible,
Tactless.
right?
I would say
Robert Reiner.
not a classy joke.
I think it's a horrible. Rob Reiner. Well, he wasn't joking. He said, "I'm glad he's dead." I don't think that's a joke.
Well, he jokes very roughly and badly. I'm not saying that he makes great.
Rob
statements.
Reiner and his wife were brutally murdered, I would assume, by their son. And then the next day, instead of saying nothing or saying, hey, thoughts and prayers for the family, he mocks Rob Reiner. Now, my personal opinion, and I'll talk about Charlie Kirk today too. I called out everybody on the left who celebrated his death. Now, I didn't celebrate his life because I don't think Charlie Kirk was a good guy, but I would never celebrate his death. What happened to him was awful. Terrible. I know people, friends that were 30 feet away.
He was my boss.
And I'm sorry for your loss. It's horrible, okay? And I got emotional on the air because I was on the air when it happened. Anybody who celebrates somebody dying or being murdered, I think it's wrong. I think it's repugnant. It's terrible. Why is it okay for the president of the United States to do that? I'm not saying you're saying it's okay, but Rob Reiner was brutally murdered. And what does Donald Trump do? He goes on Twitter the next day and he starts making horrible remarks about the Reiner family. Now, I've talked to a lot of MAGA Republicans that say that was wrong, but we're not talking about a podcaster. We're not talking about somebody at the water cooler in a conversation. That would be bad enough. We're talking about the president of the United States who's supposed to show leadership, and he's celebrating and making jokes about people dying. In this case, Rob Reiner murdered. Joe, I just think it's disgusting.
Yeah, definitely not a class act move. I personally actually knew Rob Reiner. Personally, he actually was very nice to my family. He got us tickets to U2 at the Sphere. So it was a very personal thing to hear that. And I think what happens is Rob Reiner's been a proponent against the conservative cause and against Trump. And so Trump finds a moment to, hey, he's dead. Thank goodness. Let's poke a little knife at him. And so is it classy? No. Did he kill Rob Reiner? No. So it's a different opinion on those cases specifically.
If a Democrat did that, I would be saying the exact same thing. I would call out anybody on the left. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, James Woods is murdered. Okay, I don't want that to happen. Or I don't know, Kevin Sorbo, Dean Cain, whatever. I'm just giving people on the right that are staunch Trump supporters, right? Let's just say they're brutally murdered. And again, I don't want that to happen. Let's just say that happened under the Biden administration. And then the next day, Joe Biden goes on social media. Let's just say it's Dean Cain.
He doesn't know how to get on social media.
But that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is if a lefty, anybody, an elected official, high up, made a joke about a murder of one of these people, I would say the exact same thing. It's morally bankrupt. But listen, I'm not a huge Joe Biden defender, but the man has empathy for people. He wouldn't do that.
I mean, he can't do anything. He's sleeping the whole time.
Well, again,
he can't even walk up.
Have you been watching the news? Did you see Donald Trump fall asleep at the meetings last week? And then the excuse I got when his eyes are closed for 15 seconds is he was blinking. I mean,
there's
on.
a huge difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
We can get into that, but Donald Trump is the guy that said you need voter ID to buy bread. Donald Trump is the guy who said Jeb Bush got us into the war in Iraq. Donald Trump is the guy that said I defeated Barack Obama in the elections. So they're both old people, okay? They're both old, okay?
Let's talk about the morality again. I actually thought that was interesting. You had a couple of the 2 points, and then you said your third point was...
Well, I have a lot of points that I could make on why I think he's okay. That's fair.
It was him saying stuff on Twitter, not classy.
What about what he said about John McCain?
Anybody.
He said you don't have to be morally bankrupt. You don't have to murder somebody to be morally bankrupt. Let's talk about John McCain. Donald Trump is a guy who dodged the military 5 times. Okay, and say what you want about John McCain, but he did serve this country honorably, okay? Donald Trump said he didn't respect him because he was captured.
Again,
I'm not a fan.
Another tactless joke. It seems
So
like
it's
he's
just
not the
tactless
best.
jokes.
He's just not the best comedian, is what it sounds like. You kind of have the biggest problem with, is that he says things that he thinks are funny, and I really truly do believe that he thinks they are
Well,
funny. 'Cause
I'm glad
some of
you
them
said that.
Are absolutely hilarious.
Okay, well, nothing I've said I think is
as
hilarious.
a stand-up, as people, anybody who knows who's done stand-up or anything, you know that you're going to take your chances with, hey,
So-
big swing here, big swing
So
there.
here's okay, Joe. So here's what I would say to that. Donald Trump is not a guy performing at Laugh Factory tonight. He's the president of the United States. He's supposed to be the leader of the free world. Even if he thinks it's funny, which I think is repulsive, you're supposed to be a leader. There is nothing funny, and it's not, oh, he was just making a bad joke. No. When you laugh and make jokes about death, you are morally repugnant. When you're the president of the United States, you're not some guy making a couple $100 doing stand-up comedy somewhere. That would be bad enough.
Well, then
He's-
apparently there's a lot of morally bankrupt comedians out there because half of
But
their
Donald, that's my whole
stand-up
point.
is about
Joe,
death.
Joe, that's my whole point.
Look, my whole point is to
Joe,
say that Donald Trump is a person just like you and me. I'm not saying that
I'm not like
everything he
Donald Trump.
does is perfect, but he has one of the hardest jobs in the world as the president, and we don't know what it's like to be in that.
not an excuse to make jokes about people
I'm
dying.
not saying it's an
and
excuse.
I make the
I'm
same
saying
point
it's
I made
more
before.
complicated than what we're trying to
different
set it up
standards,
as.
different standards for different people. You have a comedian that you might think a joke is inappropriate. I called out Pete Davidson today on the air. I thought the joke he made about Charlie Kirk was wrong. But here's the difference. Davidson's not the president of the United States. Donald Trump is the leader of the free world. The two don't equal each other. Comedian, leader of the free world.
That's why I think it's important what he says and what he does.
I think they're both important.
I agree.
Thank you. We agree on something. Thanks, Jim. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. I can't say I'm a fan of your shirt. It's difficult to look at, but that's okay. All right. So obviously, I've made my cases why I believe Trump is morally bankrupt. Where am I wrong?
Yeah, so look, here's the thing. So I don't think Trump's a saint. I think every single person will agree that. Probably even his own kids. But the premise that he's morally bankrupt means that he has, in my view, that means someone has no morals, right? And I would say that that's an extreme way to call him, because there's so many cases of people saying that Trump is such a generous person. Behind closed doors, he's helped people pay for cancer treatments. He's helped veterans with treatments. He's paid for people's mortgages over the year. There's literally, like, if you were to Google it, there's thousands of people that have said that he was very generous to them, even people on the other side that don't like him. Bill Maher, for example, went to the White House. Bill Maher was very thankful.
Yeah. Can I talk about that? Can we talk about Bill Maher?
Yeah, just let me finish
Sure.
that a little
Go
bit.
ahead. Yep.
So, Bill Maher has said this. A lot of Democratic people on the other side have said that he's very warm. He's very friendly in person. He's very charismatic. One last point. Amy Guthrie, are you familiar with, I'm sure most of you guys know, her mother went missing.
Yes.
Amy Guthrie is a known Democratic, well, she's on that side. I would argue that Trump went above and beyond to get FBI, to get all the resources to help her out. If he truly was morally bankrupt, I don't think he would be helping anyone on the other side. I don't think he would have called her. There's a lot of cases of Trump calling people, checking on them when they're in the hospital, when they're dying of cancer. Representative Steve Scalise, for example, when he got shot, Trump checked on him. They said for months he would call every single day. So to make the argument that he's morally bankrupt, I think is not fair. Also, his kids, not only as a person, you can't just judge a person on them, also their kids as well, because they're a reflection. A lot of people have said really good things about Eric Trump, about Ivanka, all the charity they've done.
You mean the money they stole from their charities?
Trump has done a lot of charity.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of people that have said many good things.
You're throwing
about
a
them.
lot at me, so let me
Yeah.
let me just.
You threw
can
a lot at the
continue.
first guy,
I
but-
did, but let me. Okay, so let me just go
Yeah.
through.
So I don't think someone.
Let me do the
I don't
best-
think someone can be morally bankrupt
Yeah.
and do all those great things that I hope you won't ignore or brush over, because they
Yeah.
did happen.
So let me try to go through the list here because I tried to write down as much stuff as possible. Let's start with Bill Maher. First of all, Bill Maher had dinner with Donald Trump for 2.5 hours. Just because somebody treats somebody nice for 2.5 hours doesn't mean they have great morals.
Bill
I don't.
Bill
hold
Gates
on, hold
had
on.
dinner
Let me
and
just
said the
finish.
same thing.
Let me just finish. I don't care what Bill Gates or Bill Maher
There's
says.
a lot of people,
Okay,
is
hold
my
on.
point. Yeah.
Just because somebody treats you nice, I had a lot of people at AmFest that treated me nice.
Yeah.
Does that mean I fell in love with everybody there?
Do
No.
you think they're morally
Hold on.
bankrupt,
Hold
though?
on. Let me just finish. I'm just making the point to you that just because Bill Maher spends 2.5 hours with a guy, and by the way, these days I don't think Bill Maher has any fucking credibility.
He was
had-
mad that
hold on,
Obama
hold on.
didn't
Let me
invite
just
him.
finish. Hold on. You got to let me finish.
know?
I'm giving you my reason why.
Yeah.
He has Steve Fetterman on his show who can't put two sentences together, doesn't challenge him on anything. He has Beetlejuice Lauren Boebert on his show.
Who are you talking
Doesn't-
about? Bill Maher?
Yeah, he has Boebert on his show.
Well, usually he's high on these shows,
but it doesn't matter. But the point I'm making is he has election deniers on his show and lunatics on the right and idiots like Fetterman. Yes, I do think Fetterman's an idiot. He doesn't challenge them on anything anymore. You know why he did that? You know why he said,
challenges
hey,
the Democrats
Trump
a lot.
treated me nice for 2.5 hours. You know why he did that?
Why? Who did
Ratings,
what?
clicks, to get more people on the right
Okay.
to come on his show. Now,
Do you know that for
now,
a fact, or is that just speculative?
well, why do you think he changed his tune a little bit, and why do you think he doesn't challenge MAGA Republicans like he used to?
but it's speculative, right?
Whoa, wait a
We can
second.
agree it's speculative.
Hold on. No, I
right?
don't. I disagree.
Right.
Why?
But
so that's the Bill Maher thing. We can agree.
Brian, my issue is that there's hundreds of people on the
I
opposite
will get
side
to
of the
that.
aisle
I will get
that
to
have
that.
given Trump credit for that.
Okay.
So how can you
Give me
say that
one
how can-
prominent
How
Democrat-
can you honestly say that he's
Okay.
completely morally?
Well, I'm going
he's
through the
paid
list.
for thousands. Of
I already
people's
heard you say that.
surgeries.
Let me go through the list.
He's
It is-
employed tens of thousands of people, including migrants.
Again, including undocumented people.
Yeah,
you probably don't
which
talk
he
about
did-
that.
Okay, but he helped
so hold
them.
on.
He used to be a Democrat.
Let me go through the list here. I mentioned Bill Maher, and I just think there's no credibility there.
Okay.
This is
That's
a guy.
just one guy of many,
I'm
you
just
know.
going through the list of the things you said to defend it.
Yeah.
You said he went to the FBI and went above and beyond to help the Guthrie family, right?
Yeah, he did.
He also has gone to the FBI and gone above and beyond to punish some of his political opponents. So if you're going to make the
What
argument,
about the previous?
hold on.
What about the previous
Ho-
DOJ?
Hold on. We can talk about
DOJ
Joe.
put
Hold
him in
on.
court his whole
What
time
about
out of
what
office.
about this prompt is about Donald Trump. I'm happy to have a conversation with you
I'm
about
just
Joe
saying,
Biden.
be fair.
And I'm just
Be
saying,
reasonable.
and I'm just being reasonable.
Be reasonable on
and
both
I'm just
sides.
being reasonable.
Both
Hold
sides
on.
use lawfare.
But this debate and this prompt is not about
But you
Democrats.
said,
It's
is
about
he,
Donald
is he
Trump.
morally bankrupt?
Hold on.
Morally bankrupt
you're-
means someone has no
you're
morals.
giving me-
means they have zero morals.
You're giving me a list of
Can
why.
you make a claim? Can
you're-
you make a case that Trump has zero morals?
Well, I think I've already done that.
Or
but
is
I'll-
there a percentage
I'll
in him that
continue.
maybe there is morals
Why?
there?
What would you say about somebody who protects pedophiles?
What? I don't know. I mean,
You don't
I don't
know?
think he's protecting pedophiles.
You don't.
No, I don't.
Why is Maxwell in prison right now and in a Club Med
well,
facility?
she's in prison, right?
Club Med facility.
She's in prison.
Yeah, but they moved her to a high
She's in
security.
prison.
Hold on.
Who's they though? Trump doesn't give it. The thing is,
You don't- you- wait, hold on. Hold
Brian,
on. Trump doesn't
no,
give those
Trump
commands?
doesn't give the direct orders.
He doesn't.
Of what a
So
judge.
who told Todd? Who told
He
Todd
doesn't-
Blanche?
He does not give.
Okay.
Trump. This is a very important point that I want to make. Trump is the president of the United States. He does not give direct orders to federal judges
Didn't
on
ask
what
me
is
that.
going to be done with prisoners.
Who?
The only thing he
Okay,
can do
let's
is
talk about that.
Pardon them.
Let's talk
If
about
he-
that.
If he loved
Hold
her
on.
so much, why didn't
Dude,
he pardon?
let's talk
why
about
didn't
that.
he pardon her?
Who told Donald Trump's former personal attorney, Todd Blanche, to go interview Ghislaine Maxwell? And why is it 2 days later, after that interview, she was transferred to a Club Med facility?
As far as I'm
Who
concerned,
told Todd Blanche to do that?
That's
who
DOJ.
did it?
That's DOJ.
So you don't think Trump had anything
So
to do
who-
with that?
Well, Pam Bondi was the boss of Todd Blanche at the time.
You don't think Trump
that's
had
her
anything to
boss.
do with that?
I don't know. My point is, you're just
That's
using
not- you're
speculation.
not being intellectually honest.
My point. Well, neither are you when you say
He won't rule out a pardon for her.
Neither are you being morally intellectual when you won't acknowledge that Trump has done good and that he's not completely
I never
morally
said.
bankrupt.
I never said that
You
Trump.
haven't acknowledged
hold
any
on,
of the good
hold on.
things he's ever done.
I'll acknowledge it.
Okay.
I'm sure in Donald Trump's life, he's done some good things. I've never said otherwise.
good things.
Okay, just because somebody in their life does some or many good things doesn't mean that he's a morally good man.
But
I've-
I didn't say that though. You're saying that he's morally bankrupt.
Absolutely. I've given
Morally
you a lot of
bankrupt
reasons
means
for that.
There's zero morals. And what I'm saying to you is, though his sex life might have been complicated, and he's
it's
been
not.
accused,
No, that's not.
Okay,
you're
but what I'm saying is
mischaracterizing
he's
it.
also done a lot of good.
Hold on a second. I never said he's morally bankrupt because of his sex life.
Most of the examples you listed were either sex life or comments he made
sex
on,
life
on Twitter.
Sex life would mean
Which
he's going out with a lot of different
let
women.
me ask you a question.
Hold on a second.
You brought up the tweets.
Well, hold on.
Wait,
Let's
you
do
brought up-
sex
you-
life.
You brought up the tweets with Robert Mueller. How many people on the Democratic side have said really nasty things? You have Jimmy Kimmel. You have all these people.
I'm talking about elected officials,
that
not a
doesn't
comedian.
and that doesn't get addressed.
Hold on. We are talking about elected officials. So if you want to talk about, hold on, name me one elected official on the left, for example, that was celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk or an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Can you name me one?
Yeah, there was AOC.
What did she say about Charlie Kirk?
She made tweets basically
What did she say?
insinuating that we have to stand up for even if that means violence. What's the other
What?
lady? No,
Hold on,
there's
let's stick with
another
AOC.
lady.
Hold on.
I'm just trying to think
one
of
at
her
a
name.
time. Hold on.
Maxine
Hold on.
Waters. There
One
you
at a
go.
time.
Maxine Waters.
What did she say
She
about
has
Charlie Kirk?
publicly said over and over that we need to stand up and use violence if it's
Okay,
necessary.
hold on. You're not listening
There's
to my
many
question.
Democratic
You're not
politicians
listening
that
to my
have said that.
question.
There's many
Listen to my question.
There's many Democratic politicians that have
okay,
said
you can
things
say
like
many,
this.
but we're going to be specific
There's-
here.
and
You're not-
influencers.
Wait, you got to listen to my question. You're not answering my question. Name me one elected official on the left.
Maxine
that-
Waters.
No, you're not letting me finish. And by the way, she didn't, but we can get to
She
that.
actually did.
Celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk. Give me one.
I didn't say she celebrated it.
Okay,
I
she
sa- I
said,
a
and what
lot
did
of-
she say
A lot of
specifically?
elected officials.
She said be
A
confrontational.
lot of elected officials on the left have called for doing whatever it takes to get Trump
Violence?
out, whether that's lawfare,
Violence?
whether that's violence.
Name me one person.
I
Give me
just
the
said
quote.
Maxine-
What did she say?
She went on Twitter.
What did
and
she
she
say?
also made a video.
What did she
I remember
say?
specifically in a video that she said that we have to stand up against Trump even
Okay.
if violence is involved.
No, she never said
They-
that. You're a liar.
you know, that's
no,
not true.
you are wrong.
No, that's
I will
not true,
pay
man.
you, and I will
She
eat my
did
own
say
shit.
that.
No, I will
Pay me,
pay you.
pay me.
I'll make a $1,000 bet with you right now
Okay.
that Maxine Waters never condoned violence.
Did Trump call for?
You're lying.
Wait, no,
What
let
you
me
just
ask you
said
a
is
question.
wrong.
Wait, let me
You're
ask you a
lying.
question.
You can't just say things.
Whenever Trump was happy that Robert Mueller died, was that him calling for violence?
Why are you changing the subject?
No, I'm just answer the question.
No,
though.
you didn't answer mine.
He didn't call
Hold
for
on
violence.
a second. You didn't
He
answer
didn't
my.
call,
Hold on.
He did not call for violence
Hold
or
on.
assassination.
You just
he
said-
was happy that someone that he
You
disliked
just
died.
This is important. You just said
If Adolf Hitler
you
died,
gotta-
I would be happy
dude,
too.
Hold on.
What's the
you
difference?
I just said, name me. I asked you a question, and it was
I
very
said
specific.
Maxine Waters.
And you're wrong. You
No,
just
I'm
lied
not.
about her
I'll
quote.
Google it.
She never. I don't need to
Google
Google it
it.
because I know the
Google
quote you're
it.
talking about. You Google it. I just
Look
made you.
up Democratic politicians that have called for violence. There's
and you're
a list
saying,
of them.
and you're wrong.
I'm
you're
not
wrong.
wrong.
Well, listen, dude.
We can disagree on that.
It's not about a
let's
disagreement.
go back.
You're just
Let's-
making
let's
up
talk
quotes.
let's talk about morally bankrupt, right? So you have the Clinton Foundation.
Oh, so we're talking about the Clintons now.
Yeah.
You don't want to talk about Trump.
No, I will
Is
talk
this,
about
is this
him.
prompt about the
No,
Clintons? I don't defend the Clintons. No, let me be very clear. Let me be very clear.
Talk about
Nope,
Trump.
we're going to end this right now.
Let me talk about Trump. Trump was already
No, we're going to
wealthy.
end this right now.
Trump was already
about Clinton.
wealthy.
Can I talk to you about Clinton? Because we're going to end
Do
your
you like
talking
him,
points
yes or
right here.
no?
No, listen to me. I believe Bill Clinton did some horrible things to women.
great.
I have gone on national
I'm glad.
networks.
I'm
No,
glad.
no, but here's the difference between you and me.
What?
I don't defend Bill Clinton. Okay, even though he was a fiscally responsible president, I'm not going to sit here like you and
Do you
defend
think
it.
he was morally bankrupt?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
But unlike you,
Do you think-
wait a second.
do you think
wait
Obama
a second.
was?
Wait a second. Unlike you, I'm able to look you in the face right now as a man and say, I believe Bill Clinton did some horrible things. You are not willing to sit here and say the same about Donald Trump because you're in a fucking cult.
Well, I actually do think
You're in a cult.
No. I do.
You're a cultist.
I do. Wait, let me talk.
Is Trump morally
Let me-
bankrupt at all? Yes
I
or no?
don't think he's morally bankrupt. I do think that he's done things that weren't good, and as a Christian, there's things I don't obviously
Not good or really bad?
Yeah, things that could be perceived
Really
really
bad?
bad. But I think since he's been in office, I don't think he's displayed the same character that he did maybe when he was a billionaire in New York when he was hanging out with tons of women. But I also think it's hypocritical to say that he's morally bankrupt when he's helped thousands of people. He's very generous. There's a lot of people that have a lot of good things, including people on your side of the aisle to say positive things about him.
Who said he's a great guy on the left?
If you look at something else, he doesn't take the presidential salary. He was wait. He was already wealthy before he got in. If you look at Clinton, they were negative 200K after they were worth 200 million. You look at Obama, when he got in, he was middle class.
All right, I'll end by saying
now
this.
he's worth over
I'll end by-
$150 million.
I'll end by saying this.
Nancy
And by the way, this is a
Pelosi.
fact.
Nancy
Hold on.
Pelosi.
I'm not defending
She's
Nancy
wealthy.
Pelosi. This
So my point is,
hold on.
all
hold
these
on.
politicians
No.
have moral
Hold
problems.
on. You just said he doesn't accept
Which
his salary.
politician
Hold
is the
on.
most ethical?
You got to let me finish.
Which politician in your
you
opinion
gotta,
is the most
You got to let me
ethical?
respond to what you
Which
just said.
politician in
You
your
got to let me
opinion
respond to what you just
is
said.
the most
You
ethical?
got to let me respond to what you just
Okay,
said.
all
You've been
right.
interrupting a lot.
Go,
I didn't
go.
interrupt you.
Yeah, I just
you
don't have a lot of time,
bragged.
so-
I understand.
Yeah.
You just bragged or made a claim. Well, Donald Trump, he doesn't accept his $400,000 a year salary. By the way.
Which he hasn't done
okay,
his first term either, by the
you
way.
can can use your Google or maybe your Trump phone, which you never got.
Yeah.
But
I didn't order one.
Okay, well, you're one of the smarter ones, I guess.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, combined of all the presidents in the history of this country, has made more money as president than any of those other presidents. Hold on.
Him personally?
Yes.
Him
when he's
personally?
president. Yes.
Him personally,
Yes.
okay.
You can look that up
Okay.
and you can Google it. There is literally, I'm not saying there isn't corruption with other people. Of course
Yeah.
there is.
My point is
My point is there's no comparison.
Brian, look, my point is just be fair. All these politicians on the left and right have morality problems, in my opinion. You look at what happened with Swalwell just recently.
And unlike you, I called that out
Anthony
immediately and I
Weiner-
told him to
No,
step down.
I actually do think that
You don't want Donald Trump to step down. You voted for him. I would
I
never.
don't want him to step down because of things he did in his sex life or tweets that he
So
made.
you think Swalwell should have stayed in office?
I never said that. When did I say that?
But Donald Trump can stay in office and be president. Do you see different standards for different people? No, wait.
No.
You brought up Swalwell, not
No,
me.
that's
the
fine.
second all
Bring
the
it up.
stuff came out about Swalwell,
Bring it up.
I immediately said he needs to step down, and he is
Yeah.
a